changes happen. Massive earth-shattering, oh my God, life moments. And I think another way of doing this, if that feels too much and you don't want to look at the fears head on and sit with them, then just tune into the heart space. Tune into the positive side of things. Notice what were all the moments where you did own these parts of yourself that you're afraid to show? And when did good things happen? Because then we begin to trust in these other parts, and we get to trust that it actually is in our path to let these parts come out and shine, and the power and magnetism and beautiful gifts that happen when we do. It is so magnificent, and I feel it in my heart space right now. It's so warm and open and connected. So tap into that for you. Feel that. Maybe even just place your hand on your heart if you are trying to connect there, and notice the gifts and trust. Welcome to Side Note, the podcast, where we explore the intersection of business and intuition. I'm your host, Samantha Fackler, a Fortune 100 marketing advisor turned leadership coach who has worked with over 100 companies across 13 years and counting. And yes, I also keep crystals on my desk. I love astrology, and I'm a trained Reiki master. So I see the connections that other people miss. Join me for conversations that'll change how you think about business, life, and everything in between. This is really where I'm at right now as a business owner, and I find that it is a massive unlock for founders and for leaders, because what I hear all the time is that the world expects to see this version of me, or I'm in a corporate environment, so I need to be professional and wear a certain thing and not say certain things. And what I find is that it's severely limiting. And I recently taught a workshop this morning with many, I think there were like 40 people in the room, executive coaches that were all trained through Berkeley Executive Coaching Institute, which is also where I was trained and certified. And I was teaching a workshop on unlocking your secret sauce. But it's not just about unlocking your secret sauce for vanity's sake. It's because when you do that, that supercharges your business. It creates a culture within your organization or small team, depending on how big you are. It creates a culture that's really authentic. It also allows you to connect to clients more authentically. And it allows you to design your business and your marketing around things that are deeply resonant with you. And I believe that there is such a thing as marketing energy. And when you can tap into your authentic personality, your authentic energetic signature, when that's communicated through your business, through whatever marketing channels you have, it's magnetic. And I know that there's a ton of fluff out there that's how to make your marketing magnetic and magnetic copywriting. And I think it's a bunch of BS, to be perfectly honest. As someone who has been in marketing for over 13 years, who has an undergrad degree in marketing from the University of San Francisco, who went to USF's business school, who has had 4 businesses of my own, I'm so tired of the bad advice out there. And working with hundreds of people, over 100 companies to date, all different sizes, it ultimately stems from, can you own who you are? If you can own all the parts of yourself as a business owner, that's the foundation for everything. Because once you have that, then you can craft a beautiful brand that isn't going to change its personality every year. It's not going to look different every year and break trust with people every time it changes. You're going to build a brand that lasts for decades. You're also going to create marketing that is truly connection-based with people. It's real. We can all spot the fluff at this point. The world is so saturated with marketing content. So yeah, how do you connect with your real self then? How do we bring these parts out that we're a little afraid to show? So I think it really starts with identifying where is the fear? What are you afraid of showing? What are the parts of you that feel like you? And for me, this is my whole intuitive side, the side of my life where I deeply believe and trust in energetics. I believe everything's energy. I believe that we all are on a specific path and have a purpose. And we might not know exactly what that is, but we have signs. And we all have a sense of intuition that points us towards whatever that north direction might look like for us. And I believe that everyone with a purpose has a community out there of people just waiting to connect with you. Not what you do, but you, who you are. And so if you are running a business, even if it's a product-based business or an agency, your energy, you affect the whole operation. So first identify what are those parts that you're a little afraid to show. I was deeply afraid to talk about the fact that I was, becoming a trained Reiki master when I was at a marketing agency. I was afraid to talk about how I was doing, meditation retreats, or how I had just completed a 100-hour, 10-day meditation retreat when I was joining LinkedIn back in the day. I felt like I couldn't talk about the fact that I was becoming a yoga instructor and really was exploring this whole other side of Eastern philosophy and yoga and movement and connection with the self. But then I started to weave them together. And in my last full-time role, I started to feel more comfortable talking about these things, and magic started happening. I wasn't even a full-time entrepreneur at this point, but the moment that I started opening up that, hey, yeah, I am going to this personal development retreat on the weekend. And yeah, I am a Reiki master now and I have a side business. Then I started being handed accounts that were much more aligned. I remember this one account came in from the agency, and it was for a company that was created this way of delivering psychedelics for MAPS approved therapeutic use. So mushrooms, but with a therapist in a controlled setting. It was a patch that would allow this experience to happen for a controlled amount of time, about 40 minutes, so that a therapist could use this modality with people as they heal. And it was such an interesting account to be handed. And I felt so connected to the purpose of ultimately helping people heal through a different modality. Now, whatever your beliefs might be about psychedelics and whether you have interest in that, like I'm not actually, believe it or not, I do not do mushrooms regularly. It's not a thing that I constantly do, but again, that purpose was connected between the two. It was like, this is about healing. I believe in healing. That's also one of the things that through my coaching practice, I believe helps people heal. Even if we're talking about leading their business or managing their team or catching their breath, improving their marketing. Ultimately, the themes underneath that are about personal growth and healing. So when I unveiled this part of myself at my last full-time job, then more aligned things started to come in. All it takes is a little bit of courage to be like, you know what? I'm going to show this side of myself that the world doesn't really see, but I feel deeply connected to. Now, when I did become a business owner, I was told by coaches to lead with my marketing background because that's what I do best. That's what I've done for 13 years. They did not see the part of me that had hosted healing workshops and guided meditations and met with people as a coach, kind of more life coaching stuff for years. And it was like they wanted me to select this low-hanging fruit because it would be easy for me to build a business around it. But it didn't feel aligned. Something felt off. And so while I do still put out a lot of things that help people grow their business, it's not because I'm super passionate about marketing itself. It's because I'm really passionate about people doing what they feel called to do and being successful at that. That is my purpose. And yes, sometimes that means in a client session, we are going through a guided meditation and unearthing things that they need to see or answers they need to retrieve in order to move forward. Sometimes it's just having a session where they're catching their breath, right? All my coaching calls, I make sure that they feel like a breath of fresh air on someone's calendar and they don't feel like just another call they have to go to. If you've been feeling the call to work on your brand, then congrats. We are hosting a How to Rebrand workshop today where we're going to be talking about branding, specifically rebranding, what that looks like, where to invest, where to do it yourself, how to navigate that entire thing, as well as identity, because that's a fundamental piece of this, right? Stepping into that next level identity. So that workshop is April 15th at 10 a.m. And if it has passed that when you're listening to this, then no worries. You can get the replay. It's free and it's only available for a limited time. So get that in the show notes. And with that, we'll head back to the episode. So for me, I started to weave them together and I started to find that, you know what? I love things like astrology. And yeah, I do have crystals in my office and I don't care if people think that's weird as fuck. Sorry to cuss. But, I just at a certain point was like, this is me. And I have so much trust and I receive so many signs in the world and my intuition is so strong. I've played with a lot of different things when it comes to developing my intuition, and that is a huge guiding light for me in my work. When I meet with a client, it's again, even if we're talking about marketing stuff, intuitively, I am receiving things that pass through into our call. So what that looks like is I met with a client a couple months ago, and she really needed a lead magnet so that her people could understand her genius and have a taste of what it's like to work with her. Because people weren't going to immediately jump into her high ticket offers. And she was a designer. So she did a lot of branding work, websites for people, even landing page, even smaller projects, but still at least a couple $100s to start with. Now, most people aren't going to immediately jump into that if they've never met with you. You need a stepping stone. And while we were chatting and I was really understanding her and her genius and what she enjoyed, we stumbled upon free color audits. So what she would do is that she would briefly chat with people and they would specifically, this came through in my mind, free 1-minute color audits. And what that was is that she would briefly chat with someone, typically over Instagram or channel of choice over email. And that person would convey like, hey, this is what I'm going for. This is like an image that I really love that inspires what I'm going for. Or this is my brand, but I want to work in a new color like blue or gold. And then she was intuitive herself, and she's a color expert designer, went to art school. For her, it was so fun, and it was so quick for her to quickly be like, this is your new color palette. Easy. And then those people, because they've had that experience with her, then they're way more likely to be like, hey, can we work together? Can you actually help me apply this to my website? And then boom, she has a website client. So it's all about, for me, using the strategic marketing side of my brain and the intuition side. And so I needed to bring this intuition side out more. And so the podcast is one way that I do this. I talk about the things that interest me. I talk about these stories that I find so powerful and beautiful. It was so fulfilling for me to see that this thing worked for her really quickly and really easily. And like, that's the magic. That's why I do what I do. Because I believe in my clients. I get so excited when they see growth and they have clients come in. And I feel like a really powerful coach and intuitive channel that helps my clients. So yeah, that's ultimately my why and how that works for me. I think for you to understand how to bring that out, it's looking at what are the parts that I'm hiding? What's the fear around that? And write that fear down. For me, it was fear of judgment. Fear of misunderstanding. I thought people were going to think I was a wacko and like lost her mind. And it doesn't help that certain things in society say like, oh yeah, well, she thinks she talks to ghosts or she thinks she's psychic. I think there's a stigma around the word psychic. And that's why I use the word intuition and intuitive, because I feel like it's more resonant with me. It's work I've been deeply committed to. I know I have episodes about intuition, so I'm not going to get into that. I want to stay focused on how to pull out all of you into your business. But writing down the fears and feeling those is an important part of this. If you don't do that, this is not going to go anywhere. You have to be able to look at the fears and hold them gently, observe them. Don't judge the fears, and then work with them. There's many different ways to work with them, but I had a powerful conversation with a colleague named Vish today, and he's going to come on the podcast, and we'll probably touch on this more. But sometimes once we see the parts of ourselves that we need to bring out more to really live our 100%, to turn on our business and to receive people 100%, we got to sit with those parts that are afraid to do that. And we actually don't need to make it complicated. We don't need to make a 5-step process for doing that. We just need to sit with it. Feel that discomfort. Also feel the grounded parts of you, the parts that feel at ease and like this is safe. And then if it gets too much, back off gently, go do something else. But when we can sit with these fear parts a little bit at a time, what you start to do is that, again, gently holding them, not shouting at them to go away, almost like you're sitting down for like some tea and cake with them, maybe even some inner dialogue with them if that feels safe and open to you. Huge changes happen, like massive earth shattering, oh my God, life moments. And I think another way of doing this, if that feels like too much and you don't want to look at the fears head on and sit with them, then just tune into the heart space, tune into the positive side of things. Notice what were all the moments where you did own these parts of yourself that you're afraid to show? And when did good things happen? Because then we begin to trust in these other parts, and we get to trust that it actually is in our path to let these parts come out and shine. And the power and magnetism and beautiful gifts that happen when we do. It is so magnificent, and I feel it in my heart space right now. It's like so warm and open and connected. So tap into that for you. Feel that. Maybe even just place your hand on your heart if you are trying to connect there, and notice the gifts and trust. Develop that trust muscle. And every time that you are able to show these parts of you and you see something positive in response to that, tune into the heart space, feel it, celebrate it. Because that also grows your comfort with this. Sometimes it's not just facing the fears, it's also facing the trust in it and allowing yourself to absorb that. Ooh, just give yourself a minute here. I'm really feeling this. Savor it like it is a beautiful, decadent piece of chocolate in your mouth. Just taste it. Taste that flavor, that unique flavor that's you. And now begin to imagine what can be possible with that on the table. Your ideal clients, they're waiting to hear from these sides of you. Business opportunities, partnerships, romantic partners, friends, your team supercharged, feeling like they really belong and they can show up with their full person to work, right? Because when you show up fully, other people show up fully. And that is the beauty of this. So my ask to you is, say, just for today, tune into this space. See if you can develop a little trust. If you want to sit with some discomfort and fears before tuning into the trust, try it out. It's an experiment. But come back to the trust. Come back to your heart space. Come back to all the good, positive things that have shown you, yeah, girl, bring it out. So with that, if you want to join this workshop that I talked about, it's called Unlocking Your Secret Sauce, and it's how to actually bring this magic into your marketing. It's super tactical. It totally popped off at Berkeley Coaches Conference and the virtual edition. So I had about 75 people go through this, and all of them were like, this was amazing. This was like the most actionable workshop. If you want to join that waitlist to know when it goes live, that will be in the show notes. Again, it's taking all this beautiful work we just did together and translating that into literal marketing things that you can see and feel, that open up the gates for your ideal clients to come in and meet you. And then you can do the work that you feel so passionate and purposeful about doing. So with that, thank you for being here. I am your host, Samantha Fackler. You can find me on Instagram at growwith_Sam. You can also work with me as a coach. If you want to be my client, I'll be in your corner. It's the most magical, magnificent thing. You can find information about all my coaching programs at growwithsam.com. And with that, go be in your heart space. I love you. Bye.